Good morning. This is Carolyn Borba, and I am going to be actually doing Pillars 10, which is my last activation and last upload for this third semester. This story is about Mary Magdalene and the secret garden. And I first of all, I've always said I just love these studies, and I do, and there are 5 more that I have already gone through and probably will continue to, because thanks to Will Bozeman, who actually has written these and challenged us through our entire semester, really does do that. It challenges me, and it makes me want to look into the Word more and deeper. And he just has an incredible understanding of the Word, and it's a deep understanding that Will has. It goes beyond being a pastor or a preacher. I mean, he even understands women, which is an incredible gift that God has given him. So as I went through this, remembering the story of the woman caught in adultery, the first thing I thought about was the choices that bring sin and disruption to our lives. And then a true reality of the need for a Savior. That's where we go from the sin that is committed in our life to knowing there's something we need that we don't have. So I remembered that. And then she was the first witness to actually see the risen Jesus. I mean, what an awesome experience that had to be, even though at the time she didn't even realize. She went there out of the love of her experience. And when they were talking about the stone being rolled away, and how Will was saying that for a woman that would be physically impossible, which is true. And what that brought up for me was that the weakness, if you will, and I don't mean it in a real general term, but the weakness that God has given women, I believe, allows us to reach for Him, allows us to understand humility, allows us to know the need that we have, and that allows us, and I know it's going to create all kinds of questions about weakness, but that allows us to ask, not just for help, but to ask Jesus to save us, to be able to receive from Him. I believe that's something that God has given women, that it's not easier, but more likely to happen, I guess is what I want to say. And then when Mary fell down at His feet, exclaiming, "Master," and you said, well, this is where she met Him the first time. And see, I didn't see that the first time I read it, but when I went back over that, wow, that really touched me. Because first, by desperation, she went to Him. A faith believing, and what Oswald Chambers said this morning about that very type of thing, and that always amazes me how they connect. So what he said in here is, for every detail of common sense in life, there is a truth God has revealed by which we can prove in our practical experience what we believe God to be. See, that's what happened to Mary. She had an experience with the Lord. She felt His touch of healing. She felt His love of forgiveness, because they were stoning her because of her sin. So she had that experience that goes beyond any kind of rational understanding. It had to be faith. It had to be that deep desire of wanting forgiveness, even though she may not have been able to verbalize that until she experienced it. So I thought that was very, very powerful. So the activation that I came to was, first of all, to reenact the stoning of Mary. Going from that stoning, and I realize it takes people to do these activations, and I can't tell you how many. I just know that that's what I see. I see that section over there where they are just stoning Mary, and where Jesus comes and forgives her and tells her to go and sin no more. Well, the activation that came up with that after that stoning is, where does she go from there? We already know the story, that her experience with Jesus allowed her a faith that other people probably have never experienced. It takes that touch, that personal experience with Jesus, sometimes to change our very life. But where she goes from there, I believe, Will, is in your book, and it's on page 27. The bride is faithful to follow her beloved. And why did Jesus become her beloved? Because of what he did for her. Because of how she believed that faith and that forgiveness was real. That's why she knew his voice when he called her by name, Mary. And that's all it took, because up to that point she didn't know who that man was standing at the tomb. So it's that love that's so deep in her. For she knows his voice, and the voice of a stranger she will not follow ever again. His voice is to her the song of songs. She sings in return. Draw me after you, and let us run together. I will rejoice in you and be glad. He leads her to his banquet table, and his banner over her is love. And what I see happening from the stoning to understanding that she's become a bride and a love of Christ is that she will dance with him in the white dress, in the beauty. And that's my activation. And I have to also tell you, Will, is that secret garden brought this song to my mind that was my dad's favorite song, and the only song I ever knew that he knew that resembled Christianity of any kind. And when I come to the garden and pray, you know, in that secret garden, that was his song. And what that allowed for me was a lot of forgiveness, a lot of understanding, things I had missed. So my personal experience with that was very deep. And sorry for the tears, but I thank you very much for all that you've taught us this year.